major corporations are attracted to Maryland. Maryland is a beautiful state. We have a great education system. We have a great residential system. You look around Maryland and you think, ooh, this is a great place to live and work. But somehow the perception is otherwise. Somehow the perception is they come here, they check us out, they think we're great, then they go to Virginia and they stay there. So we invited this panel to come talk about, number one, is there truth to that perception? Is it even true that people come here, love us, but still go to Virginia? And if it is true, if this panel agrees that that actually is happening, we want to talk about why. So when we do a comparison between Maryland and Virginia, they seem rather equal. I gave myself a couple of examples to tell you guys. Virginia has more than 16,000 high-tech companies. Maryland ranks number 2 in the number of professional and technical workers. Virginia ranks 3rd, and is the recipient of the R&D funds from the federal government, but Maryland ranks 2nd in federal obligations for R&D per capita. So why is the perception that Virginia is better for business development than Maryland? Is it, and how so? And whoever wants to jump in first, let's hit it.
No.
Go tell them. Go tell them it's not true. Is it on? Are we on?
Well, we will be.
Turn them
Yeah,
on.
we're on.
Turn them on.
Well, I'll just jump in, and it's certainly on the heels of Northrop Grumman, which I would guess was probably the most well-publicized process out there of a major corporate entity. And I was intimately involved in the negotiations, as was Christian Johansson, Secretary of DBED for us. But I'll say a couple of things, and I think we're disappointed, obviously, but I think it's fair to say that the economic climate created an environment in which Northrop Grumman had some bottom line decisions they wanted to make. But I think more importantly, in terms of moving forward, the governor of the state of Maryland, the state legislative leadership, as well as everybody on the Montgomery County Council, and of course Ike Leggett, all got the fact that we had to do things differently. And I'll just say, I'm not allowed to discuss the details, but I'll just say there was a reported figure of $22.5 million out there in terms of state and county incentives for Northrop Grumman. That's an unprecedented amount of resources to put on the table to lure a major company to Maryland and specifically Montgomery County. The governor stepped up big time. And I will tell you that when you look at the details of incentive packages in the last few years in Virginia, whether it's Volkswagen or SAIC, Northrop Grumman, Hilton, 95% of those dollars are state dollars. It's not Fairfax County that's putting up big dollars. It's the governor of the state of Virginia. And historically, doesn't matter whether they're Democrat or Republican, Virginia's elected officials have established policies and practices that are very pro-business. It's reflected in all of the rankings that are out there. But the bottom line is, at least my experience, and I've only been on this job for 1 year, but I was on county council for 8, is that corporate relocation decisions are based on much broader factors than whatever the incentive package on the table is. It's, for a company like Northrop Grumman, they're moving once. And they want to know that they're going to be able to pick up the phone and call the governor. They want to know that the local elected officials are going to be willing to communicate with them. And I think that is a perception issue that we have to change. If there's any silver lining about not getting Northrop Grumman, it's the following. The consultants out of New York who worked on the incentive packages had no experience with Maryland or Montgomery County. And when we finished this and sort of debriefed, they were point blank and said, look, we knew we had to go through the deal with DC, Virginia, and Maryland, but we just figured everybody had to do their due diligence. Maryland's not going to really do anything here. Of course we're going to be looking at different locations in Virginia. And they were, to quote him, blown away by Maryland's aggressive approach to doing what it was going to take to land Northrop Grumman, and it changed their perception of Maryland and Montgomery County in particular. So the bad news is we don't land the big fish. The good news is, at least in the sphere folks that do incentive packages and consulting for the Fortune 50, Fortune 100, 500 companies, we help change the perception of Maryland willing to play. And I think that's a very big, sort of sea change in the way we've done business here, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen over the next few years, as we all know that this is going to be a long slog.
Can I